Hi, Darin Mangum here, securities lawyer with the law firm Mangum and Associates. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about accredited investor, the definition of accredited investor again for the millionth time. And I know you get tired of hearing about it, but it is in the news again. There is as we've kind of, I've got other videos that have talked about the evolution of the definition of accredited investor, how there have been some really substantive changes lately. And here we have another twist, a recent lawsuit by an investor challenging the definition of accredited investor in a federal lawsuit, saying that it was unconstitutional, which is kind of a big deal if the definition itself is somehow invalid or faulty. This is a lawsuit on behalf of plaintiff Emily Kapsikiewicz. I think I'm saying that right, Emily. If you watch this video, let me know if I pronounced your name right. But basically, she was excluded from investing in a private fund as a limited partner because she didn't, even though she had really good income and she had close to $1 million net worth, she didn't quite meet the threshold. So she was denied the opportunity to invest. And it was kind of interesting because later she was actually hired because of her background as a healthcare professional. She was actually hired on by the fund as a manager. And so she was then able to invest in one of the funds, but because that is also the definition of accredited investor. If you're also a manager, officer, director, general partner, then by that definition, you become accredited. But the parent fund, the parent company was also raising capital since she was not an officer, even though she was highly qualified, highly knowledgeable, and had pretty good financial resources. She's still unable to invest in that fund, right? So the lawsuit, it claims that when the SEC originally, I mean, this gal has a master's degree in economics and has a net worth of approximately $850,000 with annual income of $195,000. So just right under that threshold, And so anyway, she's filing a lawsuit saying, hey, when the SEC adopted the rule, they're saying that the SEC did not. They say basically the rule restricts investors' rights to expressive and associational conduct under the First Amendment, and argues that investing in a fund like this is not merely an economic act, but a form of expression. So an interesting First Amendment claim, free speech, freedom of expression, right? Which I thought that was kind of a novel argument. But the one I think is more probably applicable is that, hey, they're basically saying, hey, SEC, when you originally adopted the rule back in 1982, you failed to conduct a substantive economic analysis as to the rule's impact and efficiency, competition, and capital formation. And it says, hey, you as the agency relied on conclusory assertions and made no effort to collect data or build economic models to inform your rulemaking, right? So when they adopted the rule, they really didn't do their homework. And even later, the SEC, as late as last year, they came out with their own report that say, hey, they believe that the rule disproportionately affects certain demographics and geographic groups like racial, geographic, and has an unfortunate impact to limit access to wealth creation, right? And I see that all the time where you're saying, hey, why do accredited investors get richer and everybody else, we don't have the ability to invest in these because we're not accredited. And so anyway, very interesting case brought in the Northern District of Texas federal court. Yeah, so we will see how that goes. And this sort of kind of builds on the momentum of, there's been some legislation that has been kicking around that would enable somebody to just take an exam, and based on that exam, they could qualify as accredited regardless of their actual income, just because they can demonstrate they have knowledge. So it's not, it'll take basically somebody that's sophisticated and elevate them to be accredited. I mean, if that legislation were to ever, gain any steam. I mean, the House of Representatives passed it last year, but they hasn't really gone anywhere since then. But this lawsuit would be super interesting if the court decided to, hey, really take it seriously. I mean, the First Amendment I don't know how much weight that would give, but if certainly if they can find that the rule itself has been not was not adequately tested out or doesn't really have any economic basis, then yeah, they would certainly have, I think, a leg to stand on there. So anyway, very interesting. Obviously, fascinating world, right? Of accredited. I mean, it really does impact, especially when companies are raising capital, making sure that their people are in fact accredited. But yeah, I mean, the whole fact that people are that are excluded from a lot of these